with open hearts and open minds. First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado presents Hope and Coffee with Pastor Hugo Venegas.
Hi, this is Hugo Venegas. Welcome back to Hope and Coffee. It is Thursday, and we are studying the benefits of wisdom. What wisdom pays out in our lives when we cultivate certain habits, and we're looking at Proverbs chapter 3. And today we're going to look at verses 5 and 6. But here's a question I want to ask you before we look at those verses. Have you ever been on a road trip that went bad? Have you ever been on a road trip where things didn't go well at all? I remember when I graduated for high school, our school was experiencing a lot of difficulties and we did not have money for a senior trip. So I called a bunch of my friends and I said, hey, let's do our own trip. Let's do a senior trip. And they're like, well, Hugo, what do you have in mind? I'm like, hey, let's go to a volcano. And they grabbed onto that idea. We grew up on the Caribbean, which is about 9 feet above sea level, and we have never been up into the high mountains. And we were like, let's hike this volcano. Let's go up to the crater of this volcano. So we went to a volcano, the closest one to our hometown, of Turrialba. And when we went, listen to this. We had no tents. We had no sleeping bags. We had no camping permits. We had no stove. We just went with our little backpacks, and once we got there, the park ranger said, where is your permit? We're like, what permit? You need a permit to stay in the national park before you can hike up to the crater of the volcano. Well, we don't have one. He's like, where is your tent? A tent? We need a tent? And it's like, where are you going to sleep? I don't know, under a tree. And it was a disaster. We were ill-equipped, and here is the worst part of it. We had gotten there right before sundown. And the park rangers, they're like, these are the dumbest people that we have ever seen. And we relied on our dumbness, our ignorance, and we didn't know what it took to go camping. And you're like, well, why are you talking about this, Venegas? Because today we're going to talk about one of the benefits of wisdom. And one of the benefits of wisdom is that God will keep us on track. God will keep us on track even when we go off the track, off the path. And that's what it says here in verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. So how do we get off the path? How do we end up on road trips that go bad? When we rely on our own understanding. And whenever we become self-sufficient, whenever we think that we have the answers, whenever we think that we know, we may be in trouble. We may be in trouble. It's just like me and my friends. We're going camping and we have no clue about what it took to go camping. We never asked anyone. All we needed was let's have a backpack with our clothing and let's have a jacket because it can get cold up there. But we were ill prepared because we were relying on our shallow Caribbean understanding. Now, we may have wisdom. We may have wisdom to how to beach it. We may have wisdom how to go hiking for 20 miles without any food on the Caribbean and find food. That's what we did as kids. But how to live in the mountains, we had no wisdom. And the problem comes when we have an urban understanding that we want to apply to a rural living. When we have an understanding that is based on our education that we want to apply in a relational situation, which it doesn't matter how much you know, it doesn't matter how many degrees you have, but in a relational situation, do you have a heart? Do you have listening skills? Do you know how to affirm? Do you know how to resolve conflict? You see, you can have all the degrees, but if you don't have relational and emotional intelligence, our relationships can't go well. And we all get off track. We all get off track financially. We all get off track morally. We all get off track in our jobs and our careers. And we can rely on our own understanding, and that just takes us off the highway, and we end up in some dangerous place. And this is what Proverbs is saying, that one of the benefits of the wisdom is God will always steer us back on the right path. But in order to do that, there are certain habits that we need to practice. And the habit here is trust. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. In other words, do not give yourself to obeying your limited perspectives. God has a broader perspective of our lives. God understands our weaknesses. God understands what's down the road before we come around the bend. And that's why we need to trust Him. That's why we need to figure things out according to God's perspective, not our own. And here is the other thing. In order for us to have God correct our path, guide us back on path, which is one of the benefits of wisdom, we have to trust Him. But the other thing it says here, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. So we have to acknowledge God, even when we are off track. We got to say, God, I am lost and I need your direction. God, I am having a struggle with my business and I need your perspective as to how we can rebound. God, we are going through this pandemic. I am having mental health crisis. I am feeling depressed. I need your guidance as to how do I stay sane when I'm locked up. God, I need to go out. Give me wisdom. Give me wisdom as to what is the safest way to be out and about in a pandemic. That's acknowledging. That's inviting God into the equation of our lives. And when we don't invite Him into the equation of our lives, and when we don't trust that He has the best solution to whatever we are facing, then we will go off track and we will never have a redirection in our lives. So one of the benefits of wisdom is when you're off track and you acknowledge God being off track, He will redirect us and bring us back on the path. While I was down in Costa Rica, one of my nieces called me up and she said, Uncle, I want to go back to the U.S. with you. And I'm like, what are you trying to run away from? And she's like, I just want to spend a couple months with you. I just want to hang out with you. I want to learn some English. And I said, this is not the right time to be traveling to the U.S. We're in the middle of a pandemic. The fall is coming. The winter is going to be coming. You need to visit in the summer. Everything is shut down, or I'm not going to take you anywhere. And she said, I am almost ready to buy the ticket. And I said, wait. Don't buy it yet. Give me some time to think. And as I am thinking about this, and I'm saying, this doesn't sound good. And then a friend of mine called me up in the middle of a rainstorm. And as she was talking to me, she sounded very off. And by the fact that she sounded very off, I started meditating and I said, you know what? My niece's request sounds very off. And I texted her and I said, this is not the right time for you to come. A few days later, she said, can I go hang out with you? So we go down to the beach on the Caribbean side and she gets sick. She gets sick. She was so sick and she had a fever. And I am like, Lord, have mercy. Because I'm thinking, she's got that bad bug. She's got the 19 bug. And then we took her to the clinic. And the doctor saw her and said, you don't have the bug. You don't have COVID. You have a bad infection in your glands. And then she goes, oh, yeah, ever since I was a little kid, I get sick. My immune system is weak. And I get exposed to any little slight change of temperature because we had gone from the mountain down to the Caribbean and she got sick. And then it made me realize, thank God I did not allow her to buy a ticket. Because can you imagine that kid coming with me to Colorado and facing 40-degree weather and 35-degree weather? She would be sick all the time. And this was not the good time. And that's a good example of how the Lord can redirect our path in decisions, in situations that if we just acknowledge him, if we just say, wait, chill out, let me see what God has to say, that could save us from going down the wrong path. Or if we go down the wrong path because of our stupidity, like me and my friends going to the volcano without any equipment, trust in God and he will redirect us and get us out of trouble. This is Hugo Venegas, and join us tomorrow for another edition of Hope and Coffee.
Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed our inspirational Bible study, like or subscribe below. Join us for worship online or in person. You can visit us at firstumcpueblo.org, or you can come by at 310 West 11th Street, Pueblo, Colorado, 81003. Give us a call, 719-544-1917, and join us again tomorrow for another inspirational Bible study. We'll see you soon.